The cold night. The night was colder than usual, even for a ruined city like this. The streets were empty, covered in broken glass and dust. Tall buildings stood like skeletons, their windows shattered, their walls cracked. A young boy named Aaron walked slowly through the shadows. He had no home, no family, and no food. The only thing he owned was a thin, torn blanket that he carried tightly around his shoulders. Aaron was only 12, but his eyes already looked older, filled with the pain of surviving too many winters alone. He searched the ground for scraps of bread or anything he could eat. Hunger made his stomach ache, but the cold made him shiver even more. Sometimes he wished the night would just take him away, but something inside him always whispered to hold on. He found a broken wall near the remains of an old shop and decided to sit there. He pulled his blanket tighter, trying to keep the wind away. His lips trembled and his small hands were numb. He whispered to himself, "Just one more night, Aaron. Just survive one more night." Suddenly, he heard a sound. At first, he thought it was the wind whistling through the broken streets. But then he heard it again, a low, weak voice, almost like a whisper. Aaron's heart started to race. No one else should be out here at this hour. Slowly, carefully, he stood up and followed the sound. The voice grew clearer. It was not human. It was strange, like words were being pulled apart and reshaped. He turned a corner and froze. Lying near the rubble of a collapsed building was a figure. Its skin was silver, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Its body was tall and thin, with armor that was broken and blood-stained. The figure was breathing heavily, every breath sounding painful. Aaron's eyes widened. He had never seen one up close, but he knew what it was. An alien. People whispered about them in fear. Some said they came to conquer. Others said they came to observe. But here, in front of him, was one dying. The alien's eyes flickered open, glowing dimly like fading stars. It looked at him. For a moment, Aaron wanted to run. His legs almost gave up. But then he saw the alien's hand weakly reaching out, shaking in the cold night. Its lips moved, broken words escaping. "Help. Please." Aaron froze. Why would an alien, a warrior from the stars, ask him for help? He had nothing. He was just a homeless boy with one blanket. But then he looked closer. The alien's body was trembling. Its breaths were shallow. Without warmth, it would not survive until morning. The boy's heart pounded in his chest. His blanket was the only thing keeping him alive. If he gave it away, he would freeze. But if he didn't, this creature would die. He bit his lip hard, feeling the weight of the choice. Finally, he knelt beside the alien. Slowly, with trembling hands, he removed the blanket from his shoulders. The cold hit him like knives, but he gently covered the alien's body with it. "Don't die," Aaron whispered, his voice breaking. You can't die." The alien's body relaxed slightly under the blanket. Its glowing eyes softened. With weak strength, it grabbed Aaron's wrist, holding on tightly. A faint light passed from its skin to his, a strange warmth that spread through his hand. Aaron didn't understand what it meant, but he felt something heavy. Like the alien was trying to tell him more than words could. The night stretched on. Aaron sat there beside the alien, shivering so hard his teeth clattered. He wanted to run back and find some corner to hide in. But every time he looked at the alien's face, he couldn't leave. The alien whispered once more, barely audible. "You, kind human." Tears filled Aaron's eyes. No one had ever called him kind before. People called him worthless, weak, a beggar. But now, in the darkest night, a dying being from the stars had spoken those words to him. As the hours passed, the alien's breathing slowed. Just before dawn, it pressed something into Aaron's palm. A small crystal glowing faintly. Its fingers closed his hand around it. Aaron looked at the alien in confusion, but its eyes were already fading. The boy shook his head, whispering desperately, "No, don't go. Stay alive," but it was too late. The alien's chest rose one last time, then fell still. Its grip loosened. Silence filled the cold air. Aaron sat frozen, staring at the lifeless body under his only blanket. The crystal in his hand pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know why it had chosen to give it to him. All he knew was that he was now alone again, colder than ever. The boy curled up against the broken wall, shivering violently, staring at the glowing crystal. His breath came in quick, painful gasps. He whispered again and again to himself, "Just one more night, Aaron. Just survive one more night." But deep in the shadows, something was watching him, something he could not yet see. A secret gift. The sun slowly rose above the broken city, painting the ruined streets with a pale golden light. Aaron sat where he had spent the night, his body shaking from the cold. The alien still lay under his torn blanket, motionless. Its silver skin no longer glowed, and its chest no longer moved. Aaron rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. His lips were dry and his whole body felt weak. He wanted to believe the alien would wake up, but deep inside he knew the truth. The creature was gone. The crystal in his palm pulsed gently as if it were alive. He opened his hand and stared at it. It was small, no bigger than a stone, but it shined with strange colors that shifted like water. When he held it close to his ear, he thought he could hear faint whispers like a distant song. Aaron frowned. Why had the alien given this to him? What could a boy with nothing do with such a strange thing? His stomach growled. Hunger pulled him back to reality. He had no food, no water, and now not even a blanket. The freezing night had taken away his strength. Still, he looked at the alien's face one last time. It seemed peaceful now, as if the pain had finally ended. Thank you, Aaron whispered softly. He didn't know why he said it. Maybe because the alien had trusted him. Maybe because for a few hours he had not felt alone. With weak arms, Aaron dug a shallow hole near the broken wall using pieces of stone. It took him a long time, but he refused to leave the alien lying on the street like garbage. When the hole was ready, he carefully placed the body inside and covered it with rubble and dust. It was not a real grave, but it was the best he could give. When he finished, his hands were bleeding and his nails were broken. He stood silently for a while, staring at the small mound of earth. Then, without fully understanding why, he whispered, "Rest well, whoever you were." The crystal pulsed brighter in his hand, as if answering his words. Startled, Aaron quickly hid it in his pocket. Later that morning, people in the settlement began to notice him wandering the streets. He was always ignored, but today their eyes lingered on him a little longer. Perhaps it was the way his pocket glowed faintly, though no one else seemed to notice as clearly as he did. An older man stopped him near a collapsed bridge. "Boy," the man said, his voice harsh. "What's that in your hand?" Aaron quickly shook his head. "Nothing." He pressed his fist against his chest, hiding the crystal. The man narrowed his eyes, but then walked away. Aaron felt his heart pounding. Something told him not to show anyone. The crystal was not just a stone, it was important. That night, when he found a new corner to rest in, the crystal began to glow again. This time it was stronger. A soft voice echoed in his mind. The words were not clear, but he felt them more than he heard them. Protector. Chosen. Mercy brings strength. Aaron's eyes widened. "What are you?" he whispered. His voice shook. "Why me? I'm no one." The crystal pulsed warmly in his hand. He felt a strange heat spreading through his body, pushing away the chill. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a boy freezing in the streets. He felt alive, but along with the warmth came fear. What if someone saw the glow? What if soldiers thought it was alien technology? They might kill him for it. He wrapped the crystal tightly in an old rag and shoved it deep into his pocket. The following days were strange. Wherever Aaron went, animals followed him. A stray dog slept near him one night, and rats no longer tried to steal what little food he found. Even some people in the settlement looked at him differently, though they didn't know why. The crystal pulsed faintly all the time, like a hidden heartbeat only he could feel. But Aaron could not stop thinking about the alien's last words. They will come. Who were they? Were more aliens coming? Would they search for this crystal? Would they search for him? On the third night, as he lay under the broken roof of an abandoned building, he dreamed. In his dream, he saw a great army of silver-armored warriors standing beneath two moons. Their leader pointed at him, and all of them knelt down, lowering their weapons. The leader's voice boomed across the dreamscape. "The boy of mercy will guide us. Protect him." Aaron woke up gasping, his body covered in sweat. The crystal glowed brightly, lighting up the dark room. He held it tightly, his heart racing. Outside, the sky was changing. Strange clouds formed, twisting unnaturally, glowing with faint lights. People in the settlement shouted in fear, pointing to the heavens. "It's them!" someone cried. "The aliens are coming!" Aaron's eyes went wide. The alien's warning echoed again in his head. They will come. He clutched the crystal so hard it hurt. Deep inside, he knew his life had just changed forever. Whispers in the sky the third night after the alien's death was unlike any other. The settlement streets, normally quiet after sunset, buzzed with noise and fear. People pointed at the sky, their voices filled with panic. Strange lights danced above the clouds, glowing in colors no human had ever seen. Green streaks curved across the horizon. Violet sparks shimmered like falling stars, and thunder echoed though no storm was near. Aaron stood among the crowd, his thin body trembling, but not from the cold. Deep in his pocket, the crystal pulsed wildly as if it were alive. Each pulse matched the lights in the sky like the two were connected. He pressed his hand against his pocket, trying to hide it, afraid someone would notice. "An invasion!" a soldier shouted from the wall of the settlement. "They are coming back!" Fear spread quickly. Mothers pulled their children close, men whispered about weapons, and some people prayed out loud. Aaron wanted to disappear, but his eyes kept rising to the sky. The lights seemed to be calling to him. When he turned to leave the crowd, he heard a voice. Soft, almost like the wind brushing past his ear. "Protector, hear us." Aaron froze. His heart jumped into his throat. He spun around, but no one was near him. The voice came again, clearer this time, not through his ears but inside his head. "Chosen, do not fear. We are near." Aaron stumbled back, bumping into a woman. She scolded him. "Watch where you're going, boy." He nodded quickly and ran into the shadows of an alley. His breath came in short gasps. He pulled out the crystal, and sure enough, it glowed brighter than ever, almost too bright to look at. "Why me?" Aaron whispered, his voice shaky. "I'm no one. I'm nothing." The crystal pulsed, and the voice returned, gentle but firm. "You gave mercy when no one else would. That is strength. That is life." Aaron shook his head. "But I'm just a boy. I can't fight wars. I can't even feed myself." The crystal warmed in his palm. "Mercy is greater than war. The warriors know this. They are coming. For you." His knees weakened, and he sat against the cracked wall. For a long moment he stayed there, holding the glowing stone close, listening to the faint whispers. The next day, rumors spread like fire. Some said alien ships had been seen in the sky. Others claimed they had already landed in distant ruins. Soldiers doubled their patrols, their faces pale with worry. No one trusted the night anymore. Aaron wandered the edges of the settlement, trying to stay unseen. The crystal had dimmed but still pulsed faintly. Like a heartbeat he couldn't escape. Sometimes when he closed his eyes, he saw images, glimpses of strange landscapes under twin moons, silver towers rising into clouds, warriors kneeling in endless rows. Each vision left him shaking. He wanted to throw the crystal away, to bury it deep so no one would ever find it. But whenever he tried, his hands refused to let go. It was as if the crystal had become part of him. That evening, he sat near the ruins of an old fountain. The stone was cracked, but water still trickled faintly from its broken mouth. He dipped his hands in, trying to calm himself. The cold water washed away some of the dirt from his skin, but not the fear in his heart. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. Aaron froze. A group of older boys from the settlement stood there, their eyes sharp and unfriendly. "What's in your pocket?" their leader demanded. "We've seen it glowing." Aaron's stomach dropped. He tried to shake his head. "Nothing. Just a stone." "Show us," the boy said, stepping closer. Aaron clutched the crystal tightly, shaking his head again. "No, it's mine!" The older boy lunged, grabbing at his shirt. Aaron struggled, but he was weaker, smaller. They shoved him against the fountain, trying to pull the crystal from his hand. Before they could, the crystal flared. A blinding light burst out, filling the ruins with a strange hum. The boys cried out, stumbling back in fear. One of them shouted, "It burns! It burns!" And they ran off into the dark, screaming. Aaron fell to his knees, breathing hard. The crystal glowed softer now, calm and steady. A new whisper filled his head. "Do not fear. We protect you." His eyes widened. "Protect me? From what?" The answer came like a chill through his bones. "From your own kind until ours arrive." That night the sky grew even stranger. Not only lights, but sounds echoed above. Deep rumbles, metallic roars, and strange chants carried by the wind. People couldn't sleep. Fires were lit in every corner of the settlement. Soldiers aimed their weapons at the heavens, waiting for an enemy they could not see. But Aaron knew it wasn't just fear in the air. It was expectation. Something or someone was about to arrive. As he lay curled under a half-broken roof, clutching the crystal to his chest, the whispers grew louder. They spoke of warriors, of journeys across stars, of a promise made long ago. Aaron couldn't understand all of it, but one thing was clear. He was at the center of it. He wanted to cry, to run, to hide. But another part of him, small but growing, wondered if this was his chance to be more than a homeless boy. And high above, beyond the glowing clouds, unseen ships began to descend. The arrival, The morning began with silence, but it was the kind of silence that made every heart beat faster. The settlement streets, usually full of noise and argument, felt frozen. Even the birds were gone. People stood in groups, staring at the sky, whispering nervously. Aaron sat on the edge of a broken wall, holding the crystal close to his chest. His thin body was trembling, not from the cold, but from the pressure of what was coming. He could feel it, something heavy in the air, like the ground itself was waiting to break. Suddenly the silence shattered. A deafening roar thundered across the sky. Everyone looked up at once. Dark shapes broke through the clouds. Massive ships, black and silver, their engines glowing with blinding blue fire. The ground shook as they descended, the air trembling with their power. Panic spread instantly. Children screamed. Mothers dragged them into shelters, and soldiers raised their rifles toward the sky. "Aliens!" someone shouted. "They've come to destroy us." The ship stopped above the city, hovering like giants watching ants. Then slowly, one of them opened from its belly. A beam of light shot down, and the ground trembled even harder. Dust rose in clouds as the air cracked with energy. From the light, shadows emerged. Tall figures, armored in shining silver, stepped forward in perfect formation, 1, then 10, then dozens. Their weapons glowed faintly, long blades and strange rifles strapped to their backs. 200 alien warriors had arrived. The humans gasped. Some soldiers fired into the sky, but the bullets bounced off invisible shields with a faint hiss. The aliens did not attack. Instead, they marched calmly, their boots hitting the ground in rhythm, forming lines across the ruined streets. At the front stood their leader. Taller than the rest, his armor was engraved with glowing patterns and his helmet shimmered with gold. He raised a hand, and instantly the other warriors stopped. Their weapons lowered but ready. His voice thundered, deep and commanding, carried through some strange device that made it echo in every ear. "Where is the human who showed mercy to our brother?" The crowd froze. No one spoke. Aaron's heart almost stopped. His hands gripped the crystal so tightly his knuckles turned white. He wanted to vanish, to melt into the broken walls, but the crystal betrayed him. It began to glow fiercely, pulsing like a beacon. The light shone through his pocket, bright enough for everyone to see. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Fingers pointed. Whispers filled the air. "The boy. It's him." The alien leader's head turned, his glowing eyes locking on Aaron. Slowly, he began to walk forward. The warriors followed, their formation parting like waves until Aaron stood in the center, small and fragile under their towering presence. Aaron wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. His breath came in short gasps as the leader stopped right in front of him. The alien bent down slightly, his glowing face close to the boy's. In a voice that shook the earth, he declared, "This boy gave his only warmth to one of our fallen. He chose mercy over fear. Such courage cannot be ignored." The crowd murmured in disbelief. Soldiers lowered their weapons, unsure. Some humans glared at Aaron with jealousy, others with awe. The alien leader straightened and turned to his warriors. With a loud command, he struck his chest with his fist. All 200 warriors dropped to one knee in perfect unison, their heads bowed toward Aaron. The ground shook with the force of their salute. Aaron's eyes widened, his lips trembling. He whispered softly, "Why me?" The leader answered as if he had heard his thought. "Because kindness is greater than war. You are chosen by our bond. From this day you are under our protection." The words echoed across the ruins, but not everyone was pleased. Some human leaders pushed through the crowd, their faces red with anger. One soldier shouted, "This is a trick. They're using the boy to control us." Another screamed, "He has alien technology. Seize him." The humans began to argue loudly, some demanding the boy be handed over, others frozen in shock. The alien warriors rose as one, drawing their glowing blades. A deadly silence fell. The leader raised his hand again and his voice rang out, "Touch the boy and you make enemies of us all." The soldiers who had been ready to grab Aaron backed away, fear in their eyes. The crowd fell silent, realizing the power standing before them. Aaron stood frozen in the middle, his heart pounding so hard he thought it would burst. He wanted to scream, to cry, to disappear, but the crystal pulsed in his hand, filling him with a strange warmth. For the first time, he felt safe. The alien leader knelt down again, his towering figure lowering to the boy's level. In a softer tone, he said, "Do not fear, little one. You showed mercy when you had nothing. That is the greatest strength of all. As long as you live, your people will not fall. Aaron's eyes burned with tears. He didn't understand why this was happening, but deep inside he felt something shift. For the first time in his life, he was not invisible. For the first time, someone saw him as more than a homeless boy. The warriors rose, their blades flashing in the sunlight. The alien leader turned to his army and shouted in his booming voice, "We honor the boy of mercy. From this day, he is one of us." The warriors struck their chests, their voices roaring in unison. The sound shook the broken city like thunder. And Aaron, the boy who had once begged for scraps, now stood at the center of 200 alien warriors. His life changed forever. But in the shadows, not everyone celebrated. Human eyes glared with suspicion and greed, and far above, more ships hovered, watching silently. The arrival was only the beginning. The boy revealed. The dust of the arrival had barely settled, but the streets of the ruined settlement no longer felt the same. The 200 alien warriors stood like statues, their glowing armor reflecting the rising sun. At the center of it all stood Aaron, the homeless boy no one had ever cared about, now the focus of every eye. The crystal in his hand glowed steadily, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He wanted to hide himself, but there was nowhere left to run. The aliens had already chosen him, and the humans could see it. The alien leader raised his arm high, pointing toward Aaron. His deep voice boomed across the streets. "This boy is the protector. He gave life when all he had was death. Honor him or dishonor us." The warriors struck their chests in unison, the sound echoing like thunder. It was a gesture of loyalty, but it made the humans flinch. Mothers pulled children closer, soldiers gripped their weapons tighter, and whispers cut through the crowd. "That boy?" someone muttered. "He's nothing. Just a beggar." Why would they kneel for him? Aaron heard every word. His chest tightened, shame burning his face. He wished he could disappear into the cracks of the broken wall behind him. But the crystal glowed stronger, refusing to let him hide. The alien leader bent down, his towering figure kneeling to meet Aaron's eyes. His voice softened, though it still carried great weight. "Do not lower your head, child. You are not less. Mercy makes you greater than kings." Aaron's throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. No one had ever looked at him with respect. He wanted to believe the words, but deep inside a voice whispered, "You're still nothing, just a boy with no home." The humans were not silent for long. A man in a torn officer's coat stepped forward, his face hard with suspicion. "This is dangerous," he shouted. "The boy carries alien technology. That crystal is a weapon. We cannot allow this." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Some nodded, fear in their eyes. Others whispered angrily about power, about control. "Give us the stone," another soldier yelled. "Hand him over before they trick us all." The alien warriors responded instantly. With a single motion, they drew their glowing blades. The sound was sharp, metallic, final. 200 weapons shimmered in the sunlight, forming a deadly wall around the boy. Gasps erupted. Humans stumbled back in terror. The alien leader's voice rang like a storm. "Touch the boy, and you make war with us." Silence fell heavy after those words. The soldiers lowered their guns, trembling. The officer who had spoken stepped back, his lips pressed tight with anger. Aaron stood frozen in the middle, his heart racing. He could feel the tension pressing against his skin like a weight. The aliens were protecting him, but the humans were glaring at him as though he had betrayed them. He could almost hear their thoughts. Why him? Why not me? That night the settlement could not sleep. Fires burned high, people argued in the streets, and fear clung to the air. Some said the aliens had come to enslave them. Others said the boy was cursed. A few whispered that maybe, just maybe, he was chosen for something greater. Aaron sat alone under the shadow of a broken tower, his small body curled up, the crystal warm in his palm. He wanted to cry but forced himself not to. If the aliens thought he was strong, he could not let them see how weak he felt inside. The alien leader approached quietly, his heavy steps shaking the ground. He sat beside the boy, his massive frame making Aaron look even smaller. For a moment, neither spoke. Then the leader said, "You think you are unworthy?" Aaron looked down, ashamed. I'm no one. I sleep on streets. I steal bread to live, why me?" The leader's glowing eyes softened. "Because you gave when you had nothing. Many with riches would have walked past our fallen brother. But you cold, hungry, dying yourself gave your only warmth. That is why the warriors bow to you. They see more than a boy. They see truth. The words sank deep into Aaron's heart. He wanted to argue, to say he was still worthless. But the warmth of the crystal pulsing in his hand made it harder to deny. The next morning, things grew worse. A group of humans gathered near the gates of the settlement, their anger loud. "The boy is dangerous," they shouted. "He brings aliens to our walls. He will destroy us all," others shouted back in defense. "He saved one of them. Maybe he saved us too." The settlement was splitting apart. Some wanted Aaron handed over to human leaders. Others wanted him protected as a symbol of hope. Through it all, the boy remained silent, standing in the middle of it all like a fragile branch in a storm. His crystal glowed softly, calming him even as the world around him shook. The alien warriors did not move. They stood watchful, ready. Their presence was both a shield and a burden, making Aaron the center of a conflict he had never asked for. That evening, as the sun sank and the sky turned red, the alien leader gathered his warriors. In front of the humans, he lifted his blade high and declared, "This boy belongs to none but himself, yet his kindness binds him to us. From this day, no harm will touch him while we stand." The warriors struck their chests, their unified roar echoing through the ruins. Aaron's eyes filled with tears he tried to hide. For the first time in his life, he was more than invisible. For the first time, someone had sworn to protect him. But in the shadows of the crowd, he saw human eyes burning with envy and fear. He knew the alien's protection made him safe for now, but he also knew something else. He had become a target not just for strangers, but for his own people. And far above, the ships still hovered silently, as if waiting for the next move. Humanity's doubt the settlement had never felt so divided. Where once people had shared scraps of bread and scraps of hope, now they argued in every corner. Some believed the aliens were a miracle. Others were sure they were a curse. And at the center of it all stood Aaron, the boy no one had noticed before, now the symbol of everything they feared or everything they hoped for. By the third day of the aliens' arrival, humans could no longer hide their doubt. At the broken marketplace, groups gathered to shout at one another. They bowed to him. "Can't you see? They will make him their king." One man shouted angrily. Another spat back. "Maybe that's what we need. A boy who saved an alien when no soldier dared." "They'll enslave us through him," someone else cried. "We should take the stone from him before it's too late." Aaron listened from a distance, his heart heavy. Every word cut into him. He had never asked for any of this. He had never wanted to be noticed. Now everyone either glared at him with suspicion or looked at him with desperate hope. Both felt like heavy chains. The alien warriors stood silent, unmoving, their glowing armor gleaming in the daylight. Their presence kept violence from breaking out, but it did nothing to stop the whispers, the fear, the hatred spreading like fire. That night, Aaron tried to find some quiet. He slipped away to the ruins of the old library, where broken shelves and torn books lay in silence. He sat against the wall, pulling the crystal from his pocket. Its glow was soft, steady, like a living heart. "Why me?" he whispered, his voice echoing in the empty hall. "I don't want this. I didn't ask for this." The crystal warmed in his hand and the voice came again, soft but certain. "Mercy cannot be asked for. It is chosen. You chose, and so you are chosen." Aaron closed his eyes, tears pressing against his lashes. "But they hate me. My own people hate me. They fear what they do not understand," the voice replied. "But fear fades. Mercy endures." Aaron wanted to believe, but the weight in his chest grew heavier. The next morning, the doubts turned dangerous. A group of soldiers marched into the streets, led by the same officer who had shouted against Aaron before. His voice carried across the square. "This ends now. That boy holds alien power in his hand. We cannot let a child decide the fate of mankind." The crowd stirred, their eyes moving toward Aaron, who stood quietly behind the alien warriors. "Give us the crystal," the officer demanded. "It belongs to humanity, not to a beggar boy." Gasps filled the air. Some people nodded, agreeing with him. Others shouted back, "No! He earned it." "Leave him be." The officer stepped forward, his hand raised. "Seize him!" The order fell like a blade. A few soldiers hesitated, but 2 men moved forward, their rifles aimed at Aaron. Before they could take another step, 200 alien blades flashed into the air, glowing like fire. The warriors formed a wall around Aaron, their eyes burning with fierce light. The leader's voice thundered, "You dare touch him? Then you dare war with us." The ground seemed to shake with his anger. The soldiers stopped dead, their courage draining in the face of such power. But the officer was not done. He sneered, his face twisted with fury. "Then it's war. You've brainwashed this boy, and now you threaten us with his life. You think we'll bow to him? Never." His words poured poison into the crowd. People shouted, screamed, argued, some even throwing stones in fear and anger. The settlement teetered on the edge of chaos. In the middle of it all, Aaron could not move. His body trembled, his chest tight, his ears ringing with the noise. He clutched the crystal to his heart, wishing he could disappear. Then suddenly the crystal flared. A wave of light burst out, washing over the crowd. For a brief moment, everything went silent. Visions flashed in Aaron's mind and in the minds of everyone around him. They saw the night he had given his blanket to the dying alien. They felt his hunger, his cold, his loneliness. They felt his trembling hands as he gave the only thing he owned to save another's life. Gasps erupted from the humans. Many covered their mouths, some began to cry. The hatred faded from their eyes, replaced with shame, confusion, awe. The officer staggered back, his face pale. What is this sorcery?" he shouted. The alien leader stepped forward, his glowing eyes locked on the humans. "This is truth. Your boy gave mercy when you gave none. He gave life when you gave death. That is why we honor him. That is why you must choose fear or hope." The crowd was silent. Some bowed their heads in shame. Others still glared with doubt, but their voices were quieter now. The officer trembled with rage but found no courage to speak. Aaron stood in the center, breathing hard, his small body shaking. He had not wanted to reveal his memory, but the crystal had chosen to. Now there were no more secrets. Everyone knew what he had done. That night, as the fires dimmed and the settlement fell into uneasy sleep, Aaron sat alone. The crystal glowed softly, steady as always. The alien leader stood near him, silent but watchful. Aaron whispered to the stone, "They will never stop doubting me." The voice returned, warm and calm, then proved them wrong. Not with power, with mercy. Aaron looked up at the stars, the alien ships hovering above like silent guardians. Deep inside, he realized something. This was no longer just about him. The human's doubt was not only his burden, it was the test that would decide if mercy could truly change the world. And in the distance, in the dark sky, more lights began to gather. The story was far from over. The Oath of Warriors, the fourth dawn since the aliens' arrival, came with a red sky. The settlement was silent, its people restless after nights of fear and argument. Smoke from watchfires drifted above the ruined walls. Every eye turned toward the center square, where 200 alien warriors stood in perfect formation, waiting for their leader to speak. Aaron stood among them, small and fragile, but no longer invisible. His crystal glowed softly in his palm, its warmth steady against the cold morning air. The humans gathered in crowds, their expressions a mixture of doubt, awe, and unease. Some whispered prayers, others clutched weapons, but all were watching. The alien leader stepped forward, his golden armor gleaming in the dawn light. He raised his blade high, and silence fell like a heavy curtain. His voice thundered, strong and unshakable. "Hear us, people of Earth. This boy Aaron gave what none of you would give, mercy when death was certain. For his act we bow not as conquerors but as brothers. From this day we swear an oath. While he breathes, no harm shall come to his people." The warriors struck their chests in unison. The sound was so powerful it made the ground tremble. Their voices roared as one, echoing across the ruins. "By mercy we are bound. By honor we are sworn." Aaron's eyes widened. His throat tightened. He had never imagined such words could be spoken about him. He was the boy who had once begged for crumbs, who had slept in shadows, unseen and unwanted. Now 200 alien warriors had sworn their blades to his life. But not everyone celebrated. In the crowd, humans shifted uneasily. Some bowed their heads in shame, remembering the vision the crystal had shown them. Others clenched their fists, unable to accept that a boy, this boy, could hold such power. A woman shouted, "What happens when the boy dies? Will you turn against us then?" A man spat on the ground. "They'll enslave us in his name." Another whispered, trembling, "Maybe he is the hope we need." The voices clashed, but the warriors stood firm. The leader turned his gaze toward the humans, his eyes glowing with sharp light. Doubt is your burden. Mercy is his gift. Do not waste what he has given you. The humans fell quiet, their fear battling their shame. That night, under the pale glow of the moon, the alien leader called Aaron to the front of the army. The warriors knelt again, their armor gleaming like silver waves. The leader lowered his blade, pressing its flat side gently to Aaron's shoulder. Child of Earth, he declared, from this day, you are our bond-bearer. You are no longer unseen. You are the bridge between our kind and yours. Aaron's knees shook. He wanted to speak, but no words came. The crystal pulsed warmly, as if encouraging him. He swallowed hard and finally whispered, I don't know how. I don't know what I'm supposed to be. The leader's voice softened. You do not need to know now. Mercy will guide you. When the time comes, you will choose again, and your choice will shape more than this city. It will shape worlds. The warriors roared in approval, their voices shaking the night. Aaron lowered his head, tears in his eyes. For the first time, he felt not just chosen, but needed. The humans could not ignore what they had seen. Some began to respect him, leaving small offerings of food near where he slept. Others still glared with resentment, whispering about danger, about curses. But none dared touch him, not while the warriors stood guard, their blades gleaming under the stars. For a brief moment, Aaron allowed himself to dream. Perhaps he could finally have a place where he belonged. Perhaps he could finally stop running, stop hiding. But the dream was short. Late that night, as he sat alone near the ruins of the fountain, the crystal glowed brighter than ever. A new whisper filled his mind, not warm, not gentle, but sharp and cold. Mercy is weakness. You should have let him die. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. His eyes darted around the empty square, but no one was there. The alien warriors stood far away, silent in their watch. The voice came again, darker this time. They will turn on you. Humans fear you. Aliens use you. You are not chosen, you are trapped. Aaron clutched the crystal tightly, shaking his head. No, that's not true. But deep inside, a seed of doubt took root. The next morning, when the sun rose golden over the ruins, the aliens gathered again under the twin banners of their kind. The leader lifted his voice one final time. By oath and by blade we stand with the boy of mercy. Let all who hear remember, kindness is not weakness, it is strength greater than war. The warriors raised their weapons high, their battle cry shaking the heavens. The humans watched in silence, torn between fear and hope, and Aaron, the boy who once had nothing, stood at the center of it all, guarded by warriors, doubted by his people, haunted by whispers only he could hear. The oath of the warriors was strong, but in the shadows unseen enemies stirred, waiting for the moment when mercy would be tested again. The story was not ending. It was only beginning.